Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Anchorage Ice Tigers Draft to Glory franchise mode here in NHL 23. So we're up here in our final playoff run of this entire series. This might actually be the last series we play against Minnesota, depending if we get eliminated or not. Obviously, this won't be the last episode of the series, even if we do get eliminated, because there will be a recap episode where we go through the record book and all player career stats, that type of thing. But this might be the last time we get to see ourselves actually assimilate and add to those point totals. So we had a really good regular season going 51-24-7, and now we're going to be taking on a Minnesota team that went 41-28-13. This is actually, I believe, the first time we actually played the Minnesota Wild in the series in a playoff scenario, which is kind of interesting because in my Chicago series I've played them a shit ton, but this time around this is the first time we've ever had to face them, I think. But anyways, before we get into this playoff matchup, I do have a few comments to go over. So the first one is from my buddy Kevin, who says doing a Draft to Glory team in Halifax or St. John's would be awesome. And I totally agree with that, because it would be kind of interesting to have like a Canadian Draft to Glory team, because we have only done American teams so far with Anchorage and Houston. And then the last comment is from Saturn Otaku, who says, I wanted to look it up, and London and Halifax are about the same in population-wise, while Hamilton is surprisingly larger than both. My vote would be for Halifax, though. So I think Halifax might be our next Draft to Glory team for NHL 24. It depends on if I could kind of think of like a name for the team and all that type of thing, and kind of like a concept for jerseys, because obviously I like to do as creative jerseys as possible. But anyways, those were the comments I got, because I am recording this a few hours after you guys would have seen the last episode. And yeah, I'm a little nervous to get into this, because obviously like we could get eliminated and then we'll never get to see guys like Parrott simulate again. Or we might end up getting onto the next round, and who knows what we could do in this playoff run. Like, there's always a chance we could win the Stanley Cup here to end off the series, but there's also a chance that we could just randomly get swept in this last playoff run. There is that. Let's make sure our lines are good and ready to go, and I'll also show you guys Minnesota's lines again, just in case you forgot. And then we'll get into this first round matchup. So, do we need to make any line adjustments? I don't think we do. We are suffering quite a bit of drop-off between guys like Hartnell and Darby and Keith, even kind of Vico, Parrott, obviously. So there's not really much we can do to kind of change this team's complexion a bit. I didn't like Fitzgerald's play a lot as the backup, so I am going to put Hayden as the backup, though. So Hayden will be backup to Pusher in the playoff run. And then in terms of our depth skaters, I don't really think I need to get Loins or St. Jacques in yet. If Tulipov, House, somebody like that's not performing, I could put in St. Jacques. And then also same kind of thing with Loins. If a forward's not producing, I could do that too. But I think this is the team we're going to run with. It got us as far this regular season-wise. It got us into the playoffs, so might as well see what happens. Here's to see what Parrott does in the playoff run again, because Parrott's always a really good playoff performer. And this would be his last playoff run and this team's last playoff run. Now, we wouldn't know for sure, and since this is the last season, if Parrott would technically retire or not. But I'm assuming he would be very close to retiring if he does. Let me quickly look over Minnesota's lines again, just because I kind of do forget, even though it's not been that long since I recorded the last episode. Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is going to be a tough task, I think. Just based on the roster, like, we need to basically shut down their top six. And also their third line, kind of. They do lack a little bit of depth, but they have a very good forward core. Their defensive core is hopefully where we could take advantage of them, but then again, they are solid. And then they actually do have a really good goaltender too. So I think this is going to be a really tough task for us. Even though they just made it into the playoffs, I think it's going to be pretty tough for us. So let's get into game number 1 and see if we're able to win here in the postseason as well. And yeah, maybe we could go out in this series as a Stanley Cup champion. That'd be pretty cool. But I mean, that's still a long ways away. But I want to just hope for at least one fun run, because this team has been so much more successful than my Chicago team that I've had for Chicago franchise. Like it's kind of frustrating in a sense too, because some of these Ice Tigers teams have been not looking that great on paper, but have done really well. While my Chicago team, some of them have looked pretty good, but they have not won Stanley Cups or rounds. So I don't really understand what goes into making a playoff team anymore. So let's just see what happens this year and go with the flow. So here you go, game 1 on home ice against the Minnesota Wild. Can we take a 1-0 series lead here? First period of game number 1. And it's scoreless. I'll take that. I'll take a good defensive hockey period. Shots are 9-7 in favor of Minnesota, but nobody has scored just yet. Can anybody open the scoring in the second period? Second period, 3-2 for us. So there's a good offensive surge. And 2 of them are from old guys for us. Hartnell and Keith score goals. And Glenn Cross also scores. Ferrerio, who's on their top line, and Djorvik, who I think is their second liner, scores for them. So their top 6 is getting going, while our depth scoring is kind of showing up a little bit. So we're only up by 1 goal. They're outshooting us 21-20, but it's a 3-2 game. Very close game so far. Let's see what happens in this third period, see if we're able to get some insurance here and lock down game 1. And they tie it up immediately on the power play. That's not great. Grossman. Come on, boys. Let's get that lead back. Let's get that back. It's been a back and forth game, and Djorvik makes it 4-3 Minnesota. Not good. Not really sold on Pusher's performance in this game, but he will likely start next game. And Bathgate scores on the empty net, and we lose game 1 5-3. Yeah, I knew Minnesota was going to be a tough team. Their record might not be that great, but they have a great offensive core, so they're able to score goals. That sucks. We had a 3-2 lead going into the third, but we weren't able to add some insurance. Hartnell from Leeson and Danner, Glenn Cross from Keith and Vico, and Keith from Vico and Danner. And then they got 3 unanswered goals. Yeah, we need to find a way to shut down that top 6 because Djorvik and Grossman had 3 points each. Bathgate had 2 points. So if we could shut down their top 6 better, we'll have a better chance of winning. So I might make some line adjustments already just because I know that this is the last time we have a playoff run ahead of us. So let's go to edit lines here. We're probably going to just address the defensive core. And then goaltending-wise, I'll probably keep with Pusher even though he wasn't really that great in that first game. If he plays bad for 2 straight games, then we'll turn to Hayden. If Hayden plays bad for a game, but gets us a win, maybe he'll stay in net. There's a chance that we also could turn to Fitzgerald at some point. So we'll go to Pusher for next game. And defensively, let's... who was badly minus in that first game? Nobody, really. Let's just do a small swap then with Smith, Pelly, and Butsayev. And that's probably all that we're going to change. Is there anybody badly minus on the forward court? Not really. I guess we'll keep the rest of this the same. It's probably because some of their goals are on the power play, right? So, yeah, I guess we'll just keep this team together like that for now. And if we lose another game badly, then we'll look into making some maybe more rapid adjustments or huge adjustments. I definitely want to keep the top line and Parrott always together because Parrott, I need him to always be stepping up for this team. Maybe that's why we lost because he didn't score a goal. So who knows? Maybe he'll be ready to score a goal in Game 2. Let's see what happens in Game 2. See if we can tie this series up headed to Minnesota because if we lose this, we're putting ourselves in a pretty bad spot. Second period, or first period of Game 2. What am I trying to say? I was thinking of Game 2, but I was thinking of periods 2. First period of Game 2. Scoreless again, so very similar to Game 1. No goals in the first period, but we are out shooting them this time around 12-6. So we've been getting a lot of chances, but their goaltender has been really good so far. So that's not great because we don't want their goaltender to all of a sudden start shutting down the series a bit. Can we find a way to break the deadlock in the second period? Second period, 1-0 us. Let's go, and it's Ricardo Hartnell again. So I think Hartnell's up to 2 goals, if not mistaken. I think. Can't remember. Actually, maybe he's not. I don't know. It's a bunch of old guys that are scoring for us. It might be his second. Shots are 24-13 in favor of us, but we're only up by a goal. So their goaltender is definitely trying to keep them in it. They actually have their backup goaltender in net, so I don't know if their starter just got yanked randomly or if he suffered a minor injury, but hopefully that's a minor injury because maybe he'll miss the next few games, and that could give us a chance to win the series easier. Let's see what happens in this third period, see if we can lock it down and get some insurance. Bobkov makes it 2-0. Nicely done, Bobkov. He's mostly a playmaker, but he gets a big goal there to give us a 2-goal lead. And Parrott scores. We knew Parrott was going to score. He makes it 3-0. Parrott can't be quiet for too long. Glenn Cross makes it 4-0. And Vico makes it 5-0. This is a great response from our team. We're not allowing them to have a lot of shots on goal, and we win 5-0. We shut out their top guys. We get 41 shots on goal, and we get 5 goals. Very good performance. Hartnell from Leeson and Danner, Bobcott from Darby and Gamble, Parrott from Danner and Leeson, Glencross from Danner and Larmour, and Vico from Danner and Glencross. I think Danner had a 4-assist game, which is pretty crazy. Yeah, 4 assists and a +5 from Ryan Danner. That might be the best defensive effort I've ever seen in this series so far. Him and Bootsai have really worked well together. We did that solo swap, and that helped out a lot. They're both +5 in that game. And then a great performance from Spencer Pusher. That's why you got to give your goaltender a little bit more leeway than one game, I guess. Danner the first star, Pusher the second star, and Glencross the third. Also great to see like the older guys still scoring though, like Parrott, Hartnell, Keith. It's always nice to see that. So we have a 1-1 series headed to Minnesota. It would be nice if we could take at least one of these two games on the road, but if we could find a way to take both, I will be pretty damn happy. So let's keep the team the exact same. We just had a strong game, and let's go into Game 3 and see if we could take a 2-1 series lead. We know that Minnesota's offense is going to want to come pretty strong in this game because last game obviously they didn't score, so they're going to definitely try hard in this game. First period of game number 3. 2-0 us. Let's go. 4 straight periods we've not allowed a goal. I like it. And Gamble and Parrott score. So Parrott all of a sudden has woken up. Obviously game 1 he didn't score, but now he's on a 2-goal game streak. What a 2-game goal streak. That's what I'm trying to say. Oh, goddamn. For some reason I'm just like completely out of it right now. Shots are 14-8 in favor of us. We have a 2-0 lead. Let's add some insurance and then maybe lock down this game as well. Second period. 3-1 us. Okay, that's good. We still have a 2-goal lead. Bannock broke into the shutout streak of Pusher, unfortunately. But Leeson does restore the 2-goal advantage. It's a 3-1 lead. Shots are 27-19 in favor of us. Let's lock this one down and take a game on the road here, boys. Let's lock her down. Penalty kill. Nicely done. Good job, penalty killers. And Karpatsev makes it 3-2. That's not great, but we're still up by a goal. Power play opportunity. And we gave up a goal right after our power play ends as Horton has tied the game up at 3. That's not ideal, boys. And we're going to overtime in game 3 with the shots 35-30. Yikes. We blew a 3-1 lead. Kind of playing similar to game 1 where we didn't have a strong third period. We're not playing as good for sure as last game. We need to find a way to win this, and hopefully they don't come back from a 3-1 deficit. Who wants to be the hero for us? Parrott, I know I call on you a lot, but let's call on you again. Let's call on Hartnell, all the old guys on this team, or maybe even some of the younger guys too. But let's call on the old guys and see if they could get it done. Overtime underway here in Game 3, and we do score immediately, and it is one of the old men. It is Ricardo Hartnell scoring 55 seconds in, and we do win 4-3 in a big game number 3. We have a 2-1 series lead, and we do get a win on the road. That is beautiful. Gamble from Bobkov, and then Parrott from Danner and Leeson. Leeson from Glencross and Danner, and Hartnell from Leeson and Kleppis. Damn, Danner is literally just killing it here in the playoffs right now. Leeson gets first star with 3 points, Bannock the second star, and Hartnell the third star with the game-winning goal. Not as strong of a performance from Pusher, but he got the win, so that's that. Only a couple minus guys, and it's like the 4th line, so it's no biggie. But that's nice. We have a 2-1 series lead, back-to-back wins. Now, if we could win another game in Minnesota, we set ourselves up for a good scenario. But obviously, we could get we could be up 3-1 and then all of a sudden lose 3 straight games, which hopefully isn't the case because that would be a tough way to go out on the series. But let's keep the team the exact same. We've won back-to-back games. Can we take a 3-1 stranglehold on the Wild and be 1 win away from the second round? First period of game number 4. We're up 1-0 again. Let's go. Glencross scores again, so he's got like multiple goals in the series. Shots are 11-6 in favor of us. Can we get some more insurance in the second period to give us a better shot at winning in the third? Second period, 2-1 us. Okay, it's still close. Gagne tied the game up, but Gamble restores the lead. Shots are 20-11, so we're outplaying them in this game, but we're only up by a goal. We've had bad third periods in 2 games so far of this series, so hopefully this is a better third for us. Let's see what happens. Let's get some insurance here, boys, because we know Minnesota could come in waves. Halfway through this period, we have a power play opportunity, but we do not capitalize on it. At least he killed some time off the clock. And a big goal from Bobkov. That's his second goal of the series to give us a 2-goal advantage. And we are going to be 1 second. We're going to be 1 win away from the second round, as Bathgate gave us a little bit of a late scare there, but we do win 3-2 with the shots being 32-18 at the end of it. So Pusher wasn't fantastic in that game, but we do get the win again. So Glencross from Parrott and Danner, Gamble from Bobkov and Darby, and Bobkov from Darby and Smith-Pelly. Not too bad. I'm liking the depth scoring on this team right now. Bobkov the first star, Bathgate the second star, and Darby the third star. Any badly minus players in that game? Probably not, right? Yeah, only 2 guys, and it was Hartnell and Butsayev. Yeah, not a strong game for Pusher based on the lack of shots, but he got the win. And that's all that really matters. So we're 1 win away from going to the second round, which is great. Hopefully we could do that, because I obviously don't want to blow a 3-1 lead in the last playoff run we ever have. So let's just keep on rolling. Yeah, Danner is killing it. Look at that. 9 assists in 4 games. He has yet to score a goal, but this guy has been setting up players a lot, which has been pretty clutch in this playoff run so far. Let's see if we can take out Minnesota in 5 games. Let's see if we could do it. We're on home ice. Let's get her done, boys. We only lost game 1. Let's see what happens here in game 5. Down 1-0 after 1. Not ideal, but I mean, at least it's still close. Grossman scores on Pusher, and the shots are 12-5 in favor of the Wild. So we need to get a little bit more rubber to the net if possible. And hopefully we can tie the game up or take the lead in the second. That'd be great. Second period. Still 1-0 Minnesota, huh? Now our offense is kind of quiet. Shots are 20-12 in favor of Minnesota. It's a 1-0 lead for them. Can we find a way to tie this game up in the third period here? Come on, boys. Let's get her done. Or else we're going to a game 6. Power play opportunity in the third period, and we do not capitalize on it. Penalty kill. Nicely done. Good job, penalty killers. Into the final 10 minutes of the third period, only down by 1 goal. Come on, guys. Final 5 minutes. Somebody score, please, for us. Please. And nobody's going to do it. We get shut out 1-0. So a strong defensive effort, but the offense was nowhere. And unfortunately, we're going to a game 6 back in Minnesota, which makes me a little bit scared. The only goal from Grossman in that one. But Pusher gets first start of the game because he kept us in it the entire night, but our offense just didn't do anything. So Pusher's had a I'd say a pretty successful playoff run so far. But Ekblad manages to get the shutout. And that's the difference pretty much. Well, game 6, I might have to make some adjustments, even though we are technically still up. I just don't want to lose back-to-back games and then go to a game 7 where who knows what happens in that scenario. Because I never feel safe with like a 3-1, 3-2 lead in this game. You just never know. Yeah, Pusher's definitely still in net. Defense is definitely staying the same, I think. Offensively, though, has there been any badly minus players? Like any standouts? No, there has not been. There's been a couple -1s on the 4th line. Schultz and Jansevsky. I'd probably rather scratch Schultz if I'm going to scratch somebody. Yeah, let's take out the youngster. Maybe do something to change up something and put in Loins. And I think that's all we'll change. Yeah, that's the subtle change we're going to make. Obviously, actually, let's check the defense. Yeah, there's only one guy, and that's Howes. That's minus. I could always take out Howes and put in St. Jacques. This guy's a machine in terms of passing the puck, apparently. Last year in the playoffs in the AHL, he had 11 assists in 15 games. Definitely brings an offensive punch that we don't really have from the back end right now, other than Danner. Let's take out Howes for one game. Give St. Jacques a game. I know it's a risk, but I want to also see how this guy does. So there's that. Let's get into game number 6 and see if we could close out Minnesota. Or are we going to be going to a game 7, which will be do or die, in the ways that if we lose and the series is pretty much done. We win and the series continues, basically, if we go to a game 7. So hopefully we could win here in game 6 and knock out the Wild. Come on, boys. Let's get her done. Let's get her done. First period of game number 6. 2-2. I mean, I like the offense from us, but I don't like that we already gave up 2 goals. We scored the first 2 goals, but they get 2 back. Vico and Bobkov. So Bobkov is scoring goals like crazy, which is weird because, like I said, he's a pure playmaker. Snyder and Smith score for them. Shots are 14-9 in favor of us. So far, Pusher not doing too strong. 2 goals against on 9 shots is not ideal. Can we find a way to take the lead in the second period? Second period? 4-2 for us. Let's go. And they're both from the old man in Derek Heath. Was not expecting Derek Heath to pick up 2 goals in a game because he's usually not a playoff scorer. But he's had like 3 goals in the series. We're up by 2 goals going into the third. Let's just not do what we did in the first period and get 2 goals and then give up 2. And let's lock down this first round. Come on, boys. Let's lock her down. But it's nice to see that all the old guys are still scoring. There's another old guy. Speaking of which, it's Avery Parrott. Makes it a 5-2 game. That should be able to hopefully write off this game here. Penalty kill. It's a long penalty kill. We kill it off. And we are going to be heading to the second round in this final season as Gamble gets another goal to make it 6-2 final. What a performance from the guys. We had obviously a couple scares in some of these games, but we did really well in terms of our depth scoring. Vico from Glencross and Smith Pelly, Bobkov from Darby and Gamble, Keith from Hartnell and Gamble, Keith from Klepis and Vico, Parrott from Leeson, and Gamble from Bobkov. 3 stars of the game. Keith the first star because he had 2 goals in that second period. Gamble the second star with 3 points, and Pusher had another strong game. And we're headed to the second round. Love to see it. The series is just trying to run as long as possible at this point, it seems like. I love it. Let's take a look at our player stats, and then we'll see who we're facing in round number 2. But the series will go a little bit longer, which is nice. There's the playoff tree right now. It looks like we're probably... I would assume we'd be facing either Nashville. At this point, it's either Nashville, St. Louis, or Edmonton, but we don't know for sure. But let's take a look at those player stats. Let's take a look at them. So, Leeson, fantastic. Over point per game, 7 points in 6 games. Keith, Parrott, and Hartnell all had 4 points. All of them had 3 goals. So our depth scoring is very good, especially from the old guys. Loins had nothing in 1 game, but still had 3 shots on goal. Left wing wise, Gamble and Bobkov both point per game. That's really good. Vico was just under point per game, but that's still good. And Darby was almost point per game with 4 assists. Does need to score some goals, but still good to see. Jansevsky had no points, so that's a bit of a bummer. Glencross was point per game. Larmour, 1 assist only. And Schultz, nothing in 5 games. So from an offensive standpoint, I really like our depth scoring here in this playoff so far. Almost everybody had a point in round 1. So that is really good. Defensively, Danner 9 points in 6 games. That's fantastic. The rest of the defensemen so far, not really doing much. Smith, Pelly, and Klepis had 2 points. Really good plus minus. St. Jacques had nothing in 1 games. And then the other 3 defensemen were pointless, but they're more defensively minded, I think. If I'm not mistaken. Let me just double check. Yeah, they're all defensive defensemen, so they're not going to do much. Goaltending-wise, Pusher was fantastic in that first round. That might be his best playoff performance yet. A .924 save percentage through 6 games and a 2 goals against average. How did he play last year in the playoffs? A .908. He's been a decent playoff goaltender. And now we're going to be headed to round 2, which who are we going to be facing in round 2 is the question. And then we'll take a look at their lineup, and then that'll be it for this episode. Let's see, who are we facing in the second round? It is going to be the Edmonton Oilers. I don't feel like we've faced Edmonton much in the series if we did. But they also kind of had a mid-season 42, 35, and 5. 5-5 in their last 10 games going into the playoffs. Obviously, they don't have McDavid and stuff anymore because those guys are long retired. So I do not know what the heck they look like. Let's see. So Edmonton, Dante Bolt. Kind of recognize that guy's name. Raphael Dagenet and Mario Brossois. Not the best top line, but I mean, Bolt is really good. Former 3rd overall pick by the Minnesota Wild, so maybe that's why I recognize him. From Minnesota and from Vegas, probably. Second line, Stanislav Ovechkin. Interesting. He's a playmaker. It's weird. Felipe Austin and Carl Cheng. Third line of Terry Gardner, Gilbert Levasseur, I think. Or Levasseur? I don't know. Roberto Tesagas, and a fourth line of Kari Levo, Frank Albrecht, and Maxwell Scatcherd. So that's a pretty solid forward core. Nobody below an 80. Does lack a little bit of depth down the middle, but still pretty good. Defensively, they have Kari Solani, Rainer Fleischmann. They also have Gaspard Geoffrion, who's the young defenseman. They also have Lionel Hemingway, Craig Ludwig, and Emmanuel Veilleux. That defensive core, it's kind of solid in the top 4, but Ludwig is insanely weak. And Veilleux is a bit too. So they must have a good goaltender, my guess. And yep, they do. Victor Fedoruk, 90 overall. And look who their backup is. It's Kari Koskaranta, our former starting goaltender, of course. We probably won't get to see him much in this playoff run, but he had a fantastic regular season as the backup goaltender in Edmonton. He has played a little bit in the playoffs so far. But Victor Fedoruk, how good is this guy? 909 in the regular season, picks up a lot of shutouts. So far has a 915 in the playoffs through 6 games. Depth-wise, they have Edgar Peckham and Alvin Sturbeck. Let's take a look at their goals for and goals against so far in the playoffs, and then that'll be it. Because I am also curious on how their goals for compared to ours in the playoffs at this point. So we could do a little bit of a head-to-head scenario. So, on paper, we both went to 6 games. We scored 1 more goal than they did in those 6 games. We also allowed 2 less goals than they did. Their power play has yet to score in 22 attempts, which is kind of a surprise. Our power play hasn't been good either, though, by any standards. 1 for 16. Their penalty kill has been better by quite a bit. They've only allowed 1 power play goal on 18 attempts. We've only had 1 power play goal on 12 attempts. So pretty close teams in terms of mostly everything. They did have 2 shorthanded goals in the first round, though. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of our Anchorage Ice Tigers Draft to Glory franchise mode. So in next episode, we'll take it to round 2 against the Edmonton Oilers and see if we can get ourselves to a conference finals again, which would be either against St. Louis or Nashville. In the East, you still have the Islanders and Flyers and Tampa and Montreal. So anything down below, and I'll see you guys next time.